Bonjour tout le monde. Je continue la suite de Vampire et je vais aller parler à lui. Ça va faire un peu changement.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
Bon, on va aller voir qu'est-ce qu'il a à dire pour la vie de Londres. Que faites-vous ici?
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
À propos du monde de médecins,
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
ok, vous aimez maltraiter des gens? C'est
How
pourquoi
did you
ça?
become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
Intéressant. Ouais, qu'est-ce que je fais?
Most people don't become thugs when unemployed. This is a choice you made.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
Intéressant. Bon, on va aller retourner ici. Bon, je cherche elle.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane. Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Intéressant. Voir si je peux poser des questions personnelles. On va aller voir ici.
Why do you keep on working for the gang, Joe? You know it doesn't suit you.
It's true, I hate this job. And I know I made some bad choices, but I'm a wet boot boy now. And people won't forget it.
You could leave tomorrow. Start another life in another town.
That's easy for you to say, Doctor. We are poor. My son's weak. And there's no way he'll endure another disappointment.
Ok, c'est le père de l'enfant de
Harry
Barry.
doesn't seem happy living in Whitechapel. Why did you make him come here?
I've always put my son's interests above everything else. Whatever he may think. Our house is small but affordable. The walls are thin, but the door is solid.
You really love your son, don't you, Mr. Peterson?
He's my pride and joy. Even if he hates me for the choices I make and pushes me buttons more than he should.
Bon.
Since the criminal nature of your job means you could be arrested, are you not afraid of what would happen to your boy if you were?
No one will ever take my son away from me. If that ever occurred, I'd hunt the bastard down and rip off his head with my bare hands.
C'est pas tout à fait ça qu'il devrait faire, en
Do
vérité.
you have any regrets?
Only one. Not to have my beloved wife by my side. She died when Harry was little. My sweet Jane. She gave the boy confidence.
Ok. Bon, mais je pense que... il reste un indice pour lui, mais pour l'instant... on va lui laisser
Goodbye,
tranquille.
Mr. Peterson.
Bon. Bon. Il y avait des indices pour d'autres personnages, mais je sais pas où ils sont. Oh, bonne idée ça. Voyons, peu de misère. Non, pas le bon bouton.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I have this thirst for blood. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Bon, ça remplit pas plus. Donc ça sert à rien. Il est mort, lui. Il a l'air d'être mort.
This district seems to get
Lui,
uglier
j'ai
every
débloqué
year.
tout. Oh, c'est elle. Je me souviens plus si j'avais débloqué.
My dear colleague.
Question personnelle. Est-ce que j'ai tout débloqué? Non. Bon. Quels sont les autres personnages qu'il me reste à débloquer?
Perhaps we'll talk again.
Attends. On est ici. Et c'est ici. C'est ça? Attends. Tous les indices. Lui-là. Il y a une migraine, mais j'ai pas le traitement pour ça. Traitement pour la fatigue, je pense que je l'aurai. Barre les 8, c'est bonne santé. Mais je pense que c'est plutôt ici. Non, ça c'est les personnages. Ici. Qualité du sens, on s'en fout. Mais il y a un indice. Mais je sais pas où il est. J'ai débloqué 2. Je pourrais aller voir le petit jeune. Il y a beaucoup qui veulent des traitements pour la fatigue. Par contre, je sais pas où ils sont.
Even the flu is no match for the Swanborough cordial. When science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Il y a peut-être un peu trop de poubelles qui traînent avec des flammes. C'est un peu dangereux. Mais bon, faut bien qu'ils trouvent un moyen de se réchauffer. Je peux ouvrir cet endroit? Je pense pas.
I cannot enter.
Ouais. Bon. Ah, lui, il est mort, ça c'est sûr. Même avec la lumière. Mais il craint pas énormément la lumière, les vampires.
When science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Someday you'll understand.
C'est qui encore, lui?
Your life away.
Good evening, Benjamin. Can I help you?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Reed.
Question personnelle, je l'ai faite. La guerre, on l'a parlé. Ici, ici. Non, bon, c'était pas lui.
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Faudrait que je vérifie dans la vidéo lesquels qu'on a débloqués pendant que je parlais avec le monsieur. Mais bon, on finit par trouver quelque chose. Ça, c'est rouge. Mais je peux pas
It's
l'ouvrir.
locked, all right.
Ouais, mais je ne pense pas que je sois obligé d'aller par là. Voyons la map. Un peu loin. Je sais pas trop où aller. Ah, mon ben finit pas trop. Fait, tiens, est-ce que je lui ai parlé à lui? Ah, ouais, c'est vrai, il est mort. Enfin, il bouge pas. Donc, tout se me dit qu'il est mort. Qu'est-ce qui... Qui est-ce?
How are you, boy?
I'm not your boy, all right? Now piss off.
Ah, lui. Bon, on va aller voir dans les questions personnelles si j'ai pu débloquer un truc. Non. Ok. So, j'ai parlé de...
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
D'accord. Il me sert à strictement rien pour l'instant.
Goodbye, young man.
C'est dur de trouver des indices, car on ne sait pas où les chercher. C'est pas avec elle, c'est pas avec lui.
Maybe it's time to see if this Christina is still working.
Je vais reparler avec lui.
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you? Joe Peterson. He's the villain here, isn't he? But you seem to know each other.
I've known Joe for years. I saw him box once or twice. He was a friend then. But these days, he's just another thug.
Ok.
What can you tell me about Mr. Peterson? Besides his behavior toward you, obviously.
Colossus Joe was a decent boxer, good one even. But after his wife passed away, he found every excuse to stop training. Just wanted to pick fights with everyone.
Ouais, c'est un peu normal avec la mort de sa femme. Son deuil, un deuil, c'est jamais facile.
It's never easy to find a new path in life, especially after the loss of a loved one. But crime is certainly not the best option.
We've all had some rough times, ain't we? But most of us don't use our fists to see us through.
C'est peut-être juste parce que c'est la seule façon qu'il connaît pour
And no
régler
one
ses
has
problèmes.
ever stood up to this thug.
Nobody will be fool enough to stand against a wet boot boy.
Je peux comprendre. Après tout, c'est un boxeur. Ça prendrait un boxeur pour l'arrêter. Bon, à propos de la santé de Harry.
What do you know of Harry Peterson? The boy seems so fragile, not like his father at all.
Harry's a good boy, but he spends most of his time complaining. He's had it tough, all right, but he needs to grow a pair.
What troubles him exactly?
Well, despite being his father's son, almost everything, I think. He never wanted to come to Whitechapel in the first place. Hates this place more than most of us.
Ouais, ça, tout le monde le sait. Ah, pas grand-chose.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis.
Pas... Ouais. Ah, tiens, là-haut, il y a quelqu'un. Ça pourrait être intéressant d'aller le voir. Je l'avais même pas vu.
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize.
Ou peut-être je l'ai vu dans une autre vidéo, par contre.
Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Comment ça? L'un n'empêche pas l'autre?
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Je crois qu'au fait.
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition.
Bon, ici il manque un indice, ce serait intéressant d'en trouver. Mais pour l'instant, on va aller voir sur celle-là.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that nurse Crane you
Ah,
mentioned.
il l'aime pas. Pourquoi est-ce qu'il n'aime pas les infirmières?
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Ok, je vois.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
Intéressant. Est-ce qu'on a fait ça? D'accord, oui, on l'avait fait. Bon.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Vous l'avez envoyé?
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after
C'était
night.
peut-être pas une bonne idée, ça, par contre.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
C'est un... D'accord, d'accord, c'est un fanatique, ça c'est sûr. Bon, pour le reste, il va falloir attendre de trouver des indices.
I have had enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Bon, au moins j'ai découvert quelques petits trucs, même si ça n'a peut-être pas rapport avec... Oh, on va aller voir s'il y aurait des trucs intéressants aussi à voir. Ok, c'est juste des reflets. On peut rentrer? Ok. On dirait que j'ai fait cet endroit. Oh! Il y a des vampires à l'église? Allez, faut juste pas les laisser putain de... Wow! Allez! 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 Désolé pour la caméra, hein, j'ai parfois un peu de mal à la diriger. J'ai tué tout le monde déjà? Il n'y en avait que 3? Ah, un peu déçu. Bon. D'accord. Ah, puis je vais ramasser ce qu'il y a là aussi. Pauvre gars. Bon. J'avance pas ben au niveau de l'enquête, mais j'ai découvert des monstres à attaquer pour changer. Bref, ça veut dire que son église Ça, c'est le cimetière. On peut trouver des gens dans le cimetière?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir.
Un poète.
Richard Nethercott, at your service.
Bon, on va voir la violon, pour le fun.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
Il n'y avait pas peur
But are you
d'épidémie?
not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
D'accord, il est un peu étrange.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
Ouais, mais ça n'a pas rapport avec l'épidémie, ce que tu viens de dire, par contre. Mais c'est pas grave.
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
Oh, c'est dommage pour lui.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear Doctor.
Bon,
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
My mother loved poetry. Perhaps your words would have touched her sensitive nature. I only see a dreadful disease.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
on ne te demande pas de cacher tes sentiments non plus. Question personnelle? L'as-tu faite?
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir, Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me
Camellia?
about Camellia?
Not much, and that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Intéressant.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
Ok.
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives, how she survives, whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
D'accord. Il est un vrai artiste.
In what way exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox, the stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
Ok. Bon, j'ai pas trouvé d'autres indices, ben, mais... Question de personnage, je l'ai faite, comme ça.
I'll leave you alone, sir.
Intéressant. Je suis dans une autre partie. Il y a un peu de brillance là-bas, mais je pense que ça sert. C'est juste parce que c'est humide. Oh, intéressant. Bon. Ah, c'était un reflet. Bon, je vais juste regarder encore un petit peu par là. On va pas tout faire le tour pour essayer de trouver un moyen. Ah, ici. Oh, une boîte. Je peux l'ouvrir? Il n'y a pas d'autre. Oh, un trou. Je peux pas passer par là, d'accord. Bon, on dirait que j'ai vidé le coin. Oh, peut-être ici. Des plaques de plomb. Je sais pas trop à quoi ça va me servir, mais je vais sûrement pour le craft. On peut pas rentrer par là. Bon, j'ai fait le tour. Il y a des traces de sang ici aussi. Mais vu qu'il y avait des vampires, c'est normal. Ce qui est pas normal, c'est que ça soit à côté d'une église. On ne peut pas rentrer. Comment ça peut rentrer dans l'église? Bon, il y a l'autre côté à voir. Oups. Voyons. Allez. Ah, on peut pas rentrer dans l'église. C'est qui lui encore?
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry.
Un journaliste, ça pourrait peut-être être intéressant de lui parler. Il va peut-être me donner des indices.
My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Allons voir.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
If no one stops it, this epidemic could turn into a scourge. It may kill more people than the war itself.
Yes, this is another kind of war.
C'est aussi mortel. L'histoire nous jugera.
History will judge us all for what we did and what we did not.
Désolé pour le bruit. J'ai juste envie de bouger un peu. Ah, vous n'avez pas peur de sortir la nuit? Ça, c'est une bonne question.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
Je ne sais pas.
I must confess, some of my rational views have been shaken by recent events.
I'll remember to stay away from the district's roughest streets then.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
Ok, vous risquez votre vie pour la vérité.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
Ça, il n'y a pas tout à fait.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Pas d'indice pour ça, c'est normal.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
Bon. Avec un journaliste à côté, je suis pas sûre que ce soit une bonne idée. C'était où? Bon, c'est pas grave. Qui sait?
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know what you're thinking. A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night. It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly. I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it? Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia.
Je vois. Elle dirait qu'elle ne peut vraiment pas parler.
Very well. Goodbye then.
Bon. Je pensais que je pouvais le ramasser vu qu'il était en brillance. Bon. Bouquet de fleurs dans lequel est caché un bon examen médical gratuit. Ok. Nouvel indice pour Camélia. Elle est disparue, Camélia? Ah, il y en a un autre. C'est
Hello
elle,
again,
Camélia?
miss.
Non, c'est pas... Ah oui, c'est elle, Camélia.
Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia.
D'accord, ça ne marchera pas.
Camellia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever.
On peut la charmer? Bon, c'est pas si grave. Bilan de santé, ce serait
Don't
intéressant.
seem to need my medical attention for now.
F pour plus de détails. Elle est en bonne santé. Ok. Bon, moi, je vais la laisser tranquille.
Very well. Goodbye then.
Mhm. Encore la même chose. Où est-ce que je suis? Oh Dieu, attends, je vais regarder sa map. Ok, je suis un peu loin là. Bon, je vais m'arrêter là pour ce soir. Passez tous une bonne journée ou une bonne soirée. À la prochaine. Bye bye!